You saw your phone light up with an invitation to a casual group dinner, stared at the screen, and instead of feeling excited, you immediately drafted a polite excuse so you could just stay home. Before you even unlock your phone, you have already decided you are probably not going. So you force yourself to attend the event anyway, just to keep up appearances. But the result is always the same. The interactions feel entirely hollow and leave you completely exhausted. There is a specific reason this happens. It is not what you think, and it has almost nothing to do with becoming antisocial. You walk into the room and immediately scan for a place to stand where you will not be trapped in a long conversation. A colleague starts complaining about their commute or talking about a television show you do not care about. Nodding politely, you say, "Wow, that is crazy." Surrounded by perfectly nice people, you still feel completely invisible and utterly drained. Getting to your car at the end of the night brings a massive sigh of relief. But on the drive back, the guilt creeps in. A quiet thought tells you that normal people like going out on a Friday night, leaving you wondering if you are losing your edge. Most people think this means they are becoming antisocial. But psychologists describe something very different. Psychologist Laura Carstensen spent decades studying why our social priorities change with age. Her work points to a surprisingly simple pattern. It is all about how we perceive our time. When you are young, your mind acts like a sponge for new experiences. At that stage, you are naturally drawn to meeting more people and trying more things. Building a wide social circle feels important because every new person seems to open another door. That makes sense for that stage of life. It can often feel as though adulthood comes with an expectation to stay just as socially active as you were in your 20s. Many people quietly interpret a shrinking social circle as a sign that something has gone wrong. But as you gain lived experience, everything about what you value starts to shift. Once time and energy no longer feel endless, your goals change completely. Realizing you have less time ahead of you does not mean you are afraid of the end. It just means understanding that your energy is a finite resource. Having 10 shallow acquaintances loses its appeal, replaced by a demand for 1 or 2 connections that actually mean something. Small talk feels less rewarding than it once did because it acts like energy spent with little return. You become much more selective about where your attention goes. Peace becomes more valuable than their approval. Every time you force yourself to go, you are ignoring what your own priorities have been trying to tell you. It feels like trying to wear clothes you outgrew a decade ago and wondering why they are so tight and uncomfortable. Look at what happens when you ignore that shift. Keeping up appearances means saying yes when your body is screaming no. Sitting at dinner tables, listening to conversations that feel like a foreign language, you watch people get incredibly worked up over trivial drama. The detachment can be terrifying at first. It makes you feel cold, wondering if your capacity for empathy is disappearing altogether. But real empathy takes far more energy than most people realize. Spending all your emotional currency pretending to care about a coworker complaining about traffic leaves absolutely nothing for the people who actually matter, or for yourself. Meaningful connection demands your full attention. It requires being fully present, listening deeply, and processing complex emotions. Nobody can do that for 20 people. By cutting out the superficial noise, you are protecting your empathy. You are hoarding it for the moments and the people who truly deserve it. One of the hardest parts of this transition is how it affects your oldest friendships. Sitting across from someone you have known for a decade, listening to the same complaints, it becomes obvious that the connection is surviving on nostalgia, rather than who you both are today. Letting go of the frequency of these interactions does not mean abandoning the person. It just means you grew out of the container that used to hold the relationship. True friends will adjust to your new rhythm without making you feel guilty for stepping back. If you have ever left a perfectly pleasant dinner feeling physically exhausted, you are not imagining it. For many introverted people, social stimulation simply costs more energy than it seems to cost everyone else. Actively tracking every voice, every facial expression, and every interruption at once means your mind is working much harder just to maintain a baseline level of attention. That physical exhaustion you feel after socializing is a natural response. It may simply be your body signaling that it needs recovery. Retreating to your home, cooking a meal, or stepping out into your garden in absolute silence helps your nervous system recover. The problem is not needing this quiet time, but feeling ashamed of needing it. We frequently talk about a social battery, imagining a single power source that drains evenly throughout the day. If that were true, a one-on-one dinner with a deeply inspiring mentor would exhaust you exactly as much as a loud, chaotic networking event. A more useful way to think about it is that we have specific reservoirs of energy for different types of connection. The reservoir used for superficial masking, the part of us that navigates small talk, can empty surprisingly quickly. The reservoir used for deep, authentic processing is massive. By turning down routine invitations, you are simply refusing to draw from the shallow pool anymore. You are keeping that energy for the deep well. But then a strange contradiction happens, one that makes you doubt yourself all over again. Picture yourself sitting at a small outdoor table in a foreign city. You start talking to the older couple next to you about the architecture across the street. It turns into swapping stories about your childhoods for an hour. You do not know their last names and you will never see them again. Yet you feel incredibly alive and fully present in a way you have not felt at home in months. This is the travel paradox. That is a powerful clue. You are still highly capable of connection. The interaction with the stranger works because it bypasses the rules of everyday socializing. First, it is strictly time-bound. You know the train will arrive, the conversation will end, and there is absolutely zero pressure to maintain the connection tomorrow. Here's the surprising part. Being in a foreign environment naturally creates an immediate shared depth. It allows you to drop the polite script, skip the commute complaints, and go straight to human experience. That is when everything starts making sense. This stranger comes with zero historical expectations. They do not need you to be the funny one, the reliable one, or the quiet one. For many people, the exhausting part is not the conversation itself. It is the crushing weight of maintaining the persona that other people expect from you. When you strip away the social debt, natural curiosity about people returns instantly. You actually love human beings. You just hate the performative dance of modern socializing. Of course, we have to draw a hard line here. We are talking about behavior patterns here, not diagnosing anyone from a screen. There is a massive difference between healthy boundary setting and clinical withdrawal. If this sounds like you and it feels overwhelming, talking to a professional is the right next step. Wanting quiet time by itself is not enough to conclude someone is depressed. One useful question is what that quiet feels like. Restorative solitude and depression can sometimes look similar from the outside, but feel very different. Healthy solitude usually still includes enjoyment, curiosity, and meaningful activities. Reading a book, working on a creative project, or exploring new ideas brings a quiet, steady joy. The quiet nourishes you. It provides the space to think and to be exactly who you are without performing for an audience. Depressive isolation feels entirely different. It is characterized by anhedonia, a medical term for the complete loss of pleasure in things you used to love. In that state, you do not cancel plans to read a good book. You cancel plans because you simply cannot summon the energy to care. The garden goes unwatered. The books gather dust. You avoid not just the shallow acquaintances, but the people who love you most. If you are experiencing that total collapse of interest in everything, that requires real attention. But if you are simply trading a crowded room for a quiet evening with a hobby you love, your behavior is perfectly healthy. Losing interest in the vast majority of people is a natural progression of finding yourself. It means finally knowing yourself well enough to build a life around your true nature, rather than bending your nature to fit someone else's life. Much of modern social life still assumes that being more social is always better. But that assumption does not fit everyone, especially as people grow older and become more intentional about how they spend their time. Letting go of the guilt is the final step. Maybe your world is not getting smaller. Maybe it is becoming more intentional. That invitation on your phone was never the problem. The guilt was. The day you stopped saying yes to everyone was the day your life finally caught up with who you had become. If this helped put words to something you have been feeling, leave a like so more people who need to hear this can find it. Subscribe to Truth Behind Minds, and tell me in the comments about the moment you realized your social circle was getting smaller, but your life was getting better.